Real estate agents love to talk about Sacramento's booming tech scene and affordable California living. And look, I love this city. They're not wrong about these things, but here's what they're not going to tell you. Last year alone, over 65,000 people moved out of Sacramento metro area. And the reason why is not what you would expect. The average family here faces over $25,000 a year beyond their mortgage just in living expenses that people from out of state don't see coming. We're talking hidden taxes, fees that don't exist in other states, and costs that realtors conveniently forget to mention during the home tour. Most people that live here are just not aware of this and other things that can make or break their decision on living in Sacramento. Today, I'm sharing all the things that real estate agents won't tell you about living here in Sacramento. So let's get into this video. Oh, the good old weather here, that's one of the things that most realtors are definitely not going to tell you. So as you can tell, if you're standing outside in Sacramento in July or August, you better have your AC cranked. We're talking sometimes 100 to 110 degrees regularly during the summer. And I'm not exaggerating, the triple digits can sometimes last for weeks. The thing is, people hear California weather and they think it's going to be like San Diego year round. The truth is, that's not correct. Sacramento is in the Central Valley and we get absolutely baked during the summer month. Your air conditioner is going to be running nonstop from June through September and sometimes even into October. And here's what really gets people. PG&E has tiered pricing, so the more electricity you use, the higher rate you pay per kilowatt. I've seen electric bills in the summer hit from $400 to $600 a month just trying to keep a house at 75 degrees. And if you have a pool, add another $100 to $150 a month just to run a pool pump and keep it clean. A lot of new homes have solar panels, which is great, but if you're buying a resale home without solar, that's a major expense you need to factor in. Installing solar can cost anywhere between $20,000 to $40,000 upfront, though you can finance it. But realtors rarely break down these real costs when they're showing you that beautiful home with that big backyard. Seasons now, I will say the fall here is absolutely gorgeous. September through November, you get that perfect 70 and 80 degrees during the day, nice and crisp in the morning. The trees change colors, especially if you head up towards Auburn, Placerville, or Apple Hill. Winter is mild compared to most of the country. We rarely see frost and snow. Forget about it unless you're heading up to Tahoe, which is about 90 minutes to about 2 hours away, depending on traffic. That's actually one of the best parts. You can ski in the morning and be back in 60-degree weather by the afternoon. But here's what they don't tell you. That drive to Tahoe on Highway 50 on a Friday afternoon or Saturday morning can absolutely be a nightmare. Bumper to bumper traffic, and coming back on Sunday can take you 3 to 4 hours easy. You need to plan your timing or go midweek if possible. Winter does bring rain, though usually from November through March. We'll get these atmospheric river storms that dump rain for days, and when I say rain, I mean sometimes it could even flood. Different parts of Sacramento can flood regularly, especially along the American River and the Natomas Basin. So if you're buying a house, you better check the flood zone maps because flood insurance can add another $1,000 to $3,000 a year to your cost, and some lenders require it. Spring is fantastic too. Everything turns green, which is beautiful because the rest of the year is brown and dry. But here's what realtors won't mention. The allergies here are absolutely brutal. Sacramento is literally ranked as one of the top 5 worst cities in America for allergies. All those beautiful oak trees, the grasses, and the olive trees that the city planted everywhere back in the day, they're releasing pollen like crazy from February to June. If you have allergies or asthma, you need to seriously consider this. Stock up on that Claritin and maybe invest in a good air purifier for your home. But the real kicker that no realtors want to talk about is the air quality during the fire season. From June through October, and sometimes even into November, we regularly have days where the air quality is hazardous. I'm talking AQI, air quality index, over 150, and sometimes over 200 or even 300 during the bad fire years. Remember 2020? The campfire smoke just settled into the valley for weeks. You literally couldn't go outside. The sky was orange. People were wearing N95 masks just to walk to their mailbox. And this was before COVID. Schools canceled outdoor activities, sports practice got moved indoors or canceled, and people with respiratory issues, kids, elderly folks, they really struggled. And here's the thing, Sacramento is like a bowl, geographically speaking. We're surrounded by mountains, so when wildfire smoke comes in, it just settles here. It has nowhere to go. The Central Valley traps it all. So if you're moving here with kids and you're picturing them playing outside all summer, you need to know that there might be some weeks where they might not be able to go outside and play safely. And this isn't just a one-time thing. This is the new normal. Although this past summer has been pretty mild. That's something you need to seriously consider, especially if your family have any respiratory issues. All right, so the next thing we gotta talk about about that a lot of realtors won't tell you is traffic and the commute situation. Now, Sacramento again is in LA or the Bay Area, but is getting there fast with all this construction that's happening in every single highway, it feels like. The reality is the infrastructure hasn't kept up with the population growth, and the traffic on Highway 50, Business 80, and Interstate 5 during rush hour can absolutely be brutal. Highway 50 heading towards Folsom and El Dorado Hills, forget about it, between 7 to 9 a.m. And then again, 4 to 7 p.m. You're sitting in stop and go traffic for miles, and Business 80 through downtown Sacramento is a parking lot during commute times. And don't even get me started on interchange where 80 and 50 meets. That's called a spaghetti bowl for a reason, and it's a nightmare. And even though the Kings aren't doing too great during Kings game, you need to anticipate adding another 10 to 15 minutes during those events because traffic could get a little congested as well. The average commute times in Sacramento is right around 25 to 30 minutes, but that's the average. So if you're trying to get from somewhere like Elk Grove to Roseville during rush hour, you could look at over an hour of driving, which is crazy. Or if you live in Natomas and work in Folsom, it's the same thing. You're spending 2 hours a day in your car minimum. And here's the thing, we don't have the public transportation infrastructure to handle the growth. Light rails exist, and they've expanded it out to Folsom and down to Consumnes River College, but it's limited, and honestly, a lot of people don't feel safe using it, especially at night. The RT system just doesn't go everywhere you need to. The frequency isn't great, and it's often delayed, so most people are stuck driving. Let me break down some real world examples. If you're thinking about living in Roseville and working in downtown Sacramento, that's about a 20-mile drive. It should take about 25 minutes, right? During rush hour, you're looking at about 45 minutes to an hour each way. That's 10 hours a week just sitting in traffic. If you're living in Elk Grove and working at Intel in Folsom, that's about a 35-mile commute that can easily take 90 minutes during peak times. I've had clients who didn't realize this until after they bought their house, and they were in for a little bit of a surprise and they were miserable. And if you're working in the Bay Area, and yes, some people do this, especially in tech, you're looking at a brutal commute. Sacramento to San Francisco is officially about 90 miles and an hour and a half. But realistically, if you're commuting during the week, you're looking at 2 to 2.5 hours each way, and sometimes longer if there's an accident or traffic. Some people do it 2 to 3 days a week for hybrid work, but it's exhausting. Now, we don't have toll roads like the Bay Area with fast track lanes everywhere, thank goodness, but we do have bridge tolls. The Antioch Bridge toll is about $7 if you're headed to the East Bay, and if you're going to San Francisco or crossing any of those bridges, you're paying about $7 to $8 each way. That adds up fast if you're doing it regularly. But gas prices, that's a whole different story. California has the highest gas prices in the nation, and Sacramento is right there with them. You're looking at about $4.50 to about $5.50 a gallon regularly, sometimes spiking even higher. Compare that to states like Texas, where gas is at $2.80, or Nevada, where it's $3.50. So if you're commuting from somewhere like Lincoln or Galt into downtown Sac every day, we're talking about 40 to 50 miles each way. You're easily spending $400 to $600 a month just on gas, and if you're driving a truck or SUV, even more. A lot of people don't factor this into their budget, and it's a shock when they see how fast they're filling up. And here's another thing that realtors don't mention. Parking downtown Sacramento is expensive and can be complicated. If you work downtown, you're paying about $150 to $250 a month just to park your car in a garage or lot. Street parking is metered and limited to 2 hours in most places, and parking enforcement is aggressive. You will get ticketed. Some employers subsidize parking, but many don't. So that's another $150 to $250 a month on top of your gas and car payment. A lot of realtors won't factor that in when they're showing you homes and calculating your budget. All right, so the next thing we need to talk about that catches people completely off guard, and I mean completely, is Mello-Roos taxes. If you're not from California, you probably never even heard of this, and it's one of the biggest budget killers for people moving to Sacramento. Mello-Roos is a special tax assessment that was created back in 1982 after California passed Proposition 13, which limited property taxes increases. Sounds good, right? Well, developer needed a way to finance infrastructure for new communities, schools, parks, roads, fire stations, sewers. So they created these special tax district called community facility districts. Here's a catch. These fees can run you an extra $3,000 to $8,000 per year on top of your regular property taxes, and in some cases even more. I've seen Mello-Roos as high as $12,000 a year in some newer developments. This is how Mello-Roos works. So let me explain how this actually impacts you. You'll see a house listed in Elk Grove or in Natomas, West Sacramento, or Folsom for what seems to be a reasonable price. Let's say $550, your mortgage payment might be right around $35 to about $4,000 a month, depending on what you put down. Then you find out there's a $6,000 a year Mello-Roos, which adds another $500 $500 a month to your payment, plus regular property taxes of maybe $700 a month. So your $3,500 mortgage is actually $4,700 a month when you factor in all the taxes. That's an extra $1,200 a month that many buyers don't budget for. A lot of buyers don't realize this until they're already in escrow looking at the preliminary title report, and it completely changes their budget or kills the deal entirely. And here's what really frustrates people. Mello-Roos can last anywhere for 20 to 40 years. So even if you pay off your mortgage, you're still paying these fees for decades. They do eventually sunset, but if you're buying a newer development built in the last 10 years, you could be paying this for the next 30 years. Which areas have the highest Mello-Roos? The areas with the highest Mello-Roos in Sacramento are typically the newer developments. Elk Grove, especially the southeast areas near Bighorn and newer developments, you're looking at $4,000 to $8,000 a year. Natomas, particularly newer sections, around $3,000 to $6,000 a year, and West Sacramento, the Bridge District and the newer areas, $4,000 to $7,000 a year. Folsom, the newest development past Highway 50, easily $5,000 to $8,000 a year. And Rancho Cordova, certain areas, especially near Sunrise, $3,000 to $6,000 a year. Older established neighborhoods in East Sacramento, Land Park, Curtis Park, and Carmichael, Fair Oaks, these typically have little to no Mello-Roos because they were built before the system existed. But you could pay more upfront for the house. So you have to decide, do you want a newer house with the Mello-Roos or buy an older house that needs updating but doesn't have these extra taxes? It's a trade-off, and realtors often don't explain this clearly. And while we're talking about extra costs, let's talk about HOAs, homeowners associations. Sacramento has a ton of planned communities, especially in areas like Natomas, Elk Grove, Folsom, Roseville, Rancho Cordova, West Sacramento. These HOA can range anywhere from $50 a month all the way to $400 to $500 a month. And in some luxury communities or high-rise condos downtown, even more. Now, some of these communities are really nice. They got pools, parks, walking trails, clubhouses, tennis courts. Places like West Shore and Elk Grove, Woodside and Folsom, or the Bridge District in West Sacramento have amazing amenities. However, if you're going to use them, it might be worth it. But here's what people don't think about. You're paying for these amenities whether you use them or not. If you work 60 hours a week and never have time to go to the community pool, you're still paying $300 a month for it. And some HOAs, you're paying $200 a month and they barely mow the common areas and maintain anything. It can be frustrating. And then there are special assessments. This is where HOAs can really get you. Let's say the community needs to repave all the roads, or the pool needs to be resurfaced, or there's an unexpected repair to the clubhouse. The HOA can vote to issue a special assessment, and suddenly every homeowner gets an increase in their HOA payments. I've seen this happen multiple times, and it can be devastating financially if you're not prepared. And you don't really have a choice. It's in the CCNRs, the covenant, condition, and restrictions that you agree to when you bought the house. And trust me, some of these HOA boards can be intense about rules. No boats or RVs in your driveway. They have to be stored off-site, which costs money. Like me, I have an RV that I can't park in my driveway because the HOA won't allow it. Specific approved paint colors only. You can't just paint your house whatever color you want. Grass has to be maintained at a certain length. No commercial vehicles with logos parked on the street overnight. And then there's limited guest parking, restrictions on holiday or decorations. Some HOAs are chill, some are extremely strict. I've had clients get fines for leaving their trash can visible from the street for 30 minutes past collection time. $50 fines, $100 fines, it really adds up. So if you're someone who values freedom to do what you want with your property, you need to really read those CCNRs carefully before you buy. Ask for a copy of the HOA rules. Ask about the HOA's financial reserves. Are they well funded or likely to need special assessments? And check if there are any pending lawsuits against the HOA. This is all public information you can request. Before we move on, I want to make sure that if you are interested in purchasing or moving to Sacramento or selling your home in Sacramento, our team is available for you. You can book a time directly with me using the Calendly link in the description above. Our team would love to help you move to Sacramento. All right, moving on. We need to talk about the overall cost of living because this is where people get shocked. Yes, Sacramento is cheaper than the Bay Area, and that's absolutely true. You're paying $600,000 for a house here versus 1.5 million for the same house in San Jose. But compared to the rest of the country, Sacramento is still expensive, and it's getting more expensive every year. Home prices in Sacramento County are about 60 to 70% higher than the national average. The median home price right now is hovering around the 550 to 600,000, depending on the area and the market conditions. In Folsom or El Dorado Hills, you're looking at 700 to 900,000 for a decent family home. In Roseville, 650 to 800,000 compared to that of the national median of around 350 to 400,000. And you can see why people are leaving California. You could buy the same size house in Texas, Nevada, Idaho, or Arizona for literally half the cost. And it's not just the purchase price. Property taxes in California are about 1.1% to 1.25% of the assessed value, which doesn't sound too bad until you realize you're paying $6,000 to $8,000 a year on a $600,000 house, plus Mello-Roos on top of that. But it's not just the housing. Let me break down what actually costs more here. Groceries are about 15 to 20% higher than the national average. A gallon of milk that costs $3.50 in Texas will cost you $4.50 to $5 here. A pound of chicken breast that's $4 elsewhere is $6 here. Going to Safeway or Raley's, you're easily spending $200 to $300 a week for a family of 4. Whereas in other states, it might be $150 to $200 for the same groceries. I'm a family. My wife and I, we have 4 little ones, and our grocery bill can be off the charts sometimes. If you're eating out, California minimum wage is $16 an hour right now, which means labor costs are higher, which means restaurants charge more. A casual dinner for a family of 4 at a place like Chili's or Olive Garden can run you from $80 to $100 with tip. Fast food, a meal at In-N-Out or Chipotle is $12 to $15 a person now, and sales tax is 8.75% in Sacramento County, one of the highest in the nation. Some areas are even higher. Roseville is 9.25%. Compare that to states like Oregon with 0 sales tax or Texas at 6.25. Every single purchase you make costs more. We already talked about PG&E and SMUD being outrageous in the summer, but water bills are high also, especially during drought years when the city implements restrictions. You can easily pay $150 to $250 a month in sewer, water, garbage combined. If you have young kids, childcare in Sacramento averages about $1,200 to $1,800 per month per child for full-time daycare. Let me do the math on that with my 4 kids. It's a ton. Preschool programs are $800 to $1,500 a month, and this is massive expense that many families underestimate. This is a big one that people from out of state don't expect. Car registrations. In fact, I had to just pay for my car registration on one of my vehicles. It was right around $750 for a new Tesla. California charges a vehicle license fee based on the value of your car. So if you're driving a $50,000 truck or SUV, you're looking at about $400 to $600 a year just to register your vehicle. Compare that to states like Montana or South Dakota, where it's $50 flat, or Texas, where it's around $75. And it's not just once. You have to pay this every single year. Over 10 years, that's $4,000 to $6,000 just in registration fees. It's insane. Car insurance, California has high insurance rate, and Sacramento specifically has seen rate spikes in recent years. You're looking at $150 to $250 a month for full coverage on a vehicle, more if you have newer cars or any tickets or accidents on your record. Every 2 years, you have to get a smog check for $50 to $80. It's another thing you have to do that just doesn't exist in any other states. And we can't forget, California has the highest state income tax in the entire country, ranging from 1 to 13%, depending on your income bracket. If you're making $100,000 a year, you're paying around 9.3 state income tax, which is over $9,000 a year. Compare that to states like Texas, Florida, Nevada, Washington. They have 0 state income tax. So $100,000 salary in Sacramento has significantly less buying power than $100,000 in Dallas or in Las Vegas. You need to account for this when you're comparing job offers or considering a move. When you add it all up, the mortgage, property taxes, Mello-Roos, HOA fees, high utilities, expensive gas, car registrations, insurance, sales tax, groceries, state income tax, you're looking at needing a household income of at least $120,000 to $150,000 to live comfortably in Sacramento as a family of 4. And by comfortably, I mean being able to pay your bills, save a little, maybe take a vacation once a year, and not stress about money constantly. If you want to live in nicer areas like Folsom, El Dorado Hills, or Roseville, you're realistically needing $150,000 to $200,000 household income. That's why you see so many people, especially young families, retirees on fixed incomes, and people working remote jobs moving out to places like Texas, Idaho, Nevada, Arizona, where cost of living is 30 to 40% lower. It's just math. Your dollar goes so much further in other states. Another thing realtors won't talk about is that Sacramento, like a lot of California cities, has a serious homelessness homelessness issue. Now, I'm not trying to be insensitive here, but it's something you need to be aware of. Certain areas of Sacramento, parts of downtown, along the American River Parkway, areas of North Sacramento have significant homeless encampments. This affects everything from property values to whether you feel safe walking around certain neighborhoods. And it's not getting better. California housing crisis mean more and more people are ending up on the streets, and Sacramento is right in the middle of it. You'll see tent cities along freeways, people living in RVs on residential streets, and unfortunately, property crime like car break-ins and theft are common in many areas. I'm not saying this to scare you away, but if you're moving from a smaller town or a state where this isn't as visible, it can sometimes be a culture shock. Now, with all that being said, I want you to know that I actually really love living in Sacramento, and here's why. Number one, the location is unbeatable. You are 2 hours from Lake Tahoe, 90 minutes from San Francisco, an hour from Napa Valley, and 2.5 hours from the coast. On any given weekend, you can go skiing, wine tasting, you can hit the beach, or explore the Bay Area. The diversity of activities within driving distance is incredible. Sacramento is also known as the farm to fork capital. The food scene here is amazing. Fresh produce, incredible restaurants, farmer markets year round. If you enjoy food, you're going to love it here. We got some of the best farm to fresh food in the entire country because we're right here in the Central Valleys. Make sure to visit some restaurants like Shumai, Crew, Alora. There's so many places, amazing restaurants to check out here in Sacramento. The American River Parkway is 23 miles of beautiful trail for biking, running, and kayaking. Old Sacramento is a cool historic area, and we got the Kings playing at Golden One Center downtown, even if they're not doing too hot right now. There's always concerts, events, and festivals happening, and Second Saturday art walks, farm to fork festivals, music fests, and state fairs. The job market here is actually really strong, and we got state government jobs which are stable and have great benefits, but we also have a growing tech scene with companies moving here from the Bay Area because it's more affordable. Healthcare is huge here. UC Davis Med Center, Sutter, Kaiser, and we're close enough to the Bay Area that some people commute or work hybrid schedules. And honestly, Sacramento has a great community feel. It's a big, small town. People are generally friendly and down to earth. It's way more laid back than the Bay Area, but you still get that California lifestyle. So look, yes, you're looking at potentially $25,000 to $30,000 a year in costs beyond your mortgage. Property taxes, Mello-Roos, HOA fees, high utilities, expensive gas, California taxes. But if you go into it with your eyes open, budget properly, and understand what you're getting into, Sacramento can be an amazing place to live. If you're considering moving to Sacramento, I'd love to help you. We're a real estate team that specializes in the Sacramento area. You could email me or book a time with me using the link in the description, or text me at the number below. I can jump on a Zoom call with you and walk you through everything, which neighborhoods to consider based on where you're working, what areas have the high Mello-Roos, what areas have the best school districts, commute times, all of it. I've helped hundreds of people buy and sell here in Sacramento from all over the country, and I want to make sure you don't get hit with any surprises. By the way, drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from and why you're considering Sacramento. And definitely hit that subscribe button because next week I'm doing a deep dive on the best neighborhoods in Sacramento for families. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.